Do you remember doing that, some of you? All right, well, this time, take anything you've got on your desk that's a piece of paper or that has a side to it, my eraser for me, and put it up to the main terms. Put it so that you only see the letter R. Are all of those R's boldface? Yeah, they're all main terms, aren't they? All right, now move that piece of paper or whatever it is to the right so that you see the first thing that's been indented. Do you see a C, a D, an A, B, C, D? Those are subterms. Oh, they're the first things listed. Now move your piece of paper till you see the next indentation. Now do you see that E, effect, that carryover line? So the carryover lines are indented further in than the subterms so they won't confuse you. So you have to watch these indentations or you're going to get mixed up. All right. I would like for you to find for me the tentative code from this page for radiculitis of the arm. (723.4). Now find the tentative code for radiculitis due to displacement of an intervertebral disc. Senioritis. It's not going to give us a code, is it? It's going to tell us to go somewhere else. But again, I have to be very careful of the indentations. All right, now I'd like for you to find radiculomyelitis, toxic, due to Clostridium. Have you had to watch your indentations? Yep, and what's your code? 037. All right, so be careful with your indentations. That's all that's trying to get you to realize. Alphabetization. We have different rules for alphabetization depending on what book you're using. The rules for alphabetizing for this book are listed, and you're going to want to review them so that you can understand why bee sting comes after beer drinkers, and why Brailsford's disease comes before Brailsford-Morqua, or whatever disease or syndrome that is. So there are specific alphabetization rules. There's also specific rules about numerical entries. Notice that when we see anomaly of the chromosomes and they're numeric, they put them in numerical order. Notice that when we have a coagulation factor disorder, they put those in order by way of, not alphabetically, but by way of the number. And the same thing with our disorders, our cranial nerves. Again, they put that in order by first, second, and third. And then finally, on the bottom of that page, something real important. Notice the exclamation mark, something we've already talked about, and those are your connecting words. Remember how you'd look up a term and immediately underneath it would say with? That's a connecting word. Words such as with, in, due to, and associated with are used to express the relationship between the main term or a subterm, indicating an associated condition or etiology. Boy, that's real clear, isn't it? Just like mud. What it's saying to you is anytime you've got one of those combining words, you've got that diagnosis that goes along with something else. And it's specified in your diagnostic statement as having the two. So it's kind of like these things often occur together, so we put them up at the very beginning so you can go ahead and look at those if they're relevant. But if they're not relevant, then move on and go to the alphabetic part of it and look it up. All right, an example, page 10. The bronchitis, we already looked at that. Bronchitis often occurs with emphysema or with influenza or with obstruction of the airway or tracheitis. So we get those out of the way first, and if they're not relevant, then we can move right down to line 5 where it begins to be straight alphabetical order. Everybody okay with that? Get those out of the way first. Index tables. Some of our listings are so extensive that they actually give them to us by way of a table. I'd like for you to look up hypertension. In the alphabetic, find hypertension. Wow, there's not just one listing, there's a whole set of listings there, aren't there? There's literally a table for hypertension. So we have hypertension with chronic kidney disease or cardiorenal or cardiovascular, and then we have 3 columns to choose from on top of that, don't we? So hypertension is very detailed. Now I'd like you to flip over to neoplasm. And if you thought hypertension had a lot, wait till you see neoplasm. So we have neoplasms of all of these anatomical areas, and then there's 6 columns to choose from for each anatomic area. And you're going to be coming back to doing a lot with that. Right now, I just want you to see it. All right, everything pretty much that we've just discussed for the alphabetic and the tabular of the disease index also comes into play for the procedure index. So let's look at the procedure index. That's in the back of the book, where you once again find another alphabetic. It's called the Index to Procedures. And the very first one listed is an ABB operation. I don't know if that's AB or ABBY. But it would be, the construction of the vagina would be a 70.61, and if you did it with a graft or a prosthesis, it would be a 70.63. So once again, the indentations are important to us, aren't they? But let's say that ours was a 70.63, so let's take that, hold our place, and now look in the very back of the book where we have the tabular for procedures. We look up 70.63, and we see a vaginal construction with a graft or prosthesis. So the book works the same way, it's just this time we're dealing with procedures. The difficulty is when you're looking at the statement in front of you, you've got to decide, is it a diagnosis or is it a procedure? If it's a diagnosis, we go to the diagnosis index. If it's a procedure, we go to the procedure index. Are you going to mess up some and be in the wrong place to begin with? Yes, you will. Everybody does. It's okay. But then you'll catch yourself and realize that you're trying to do a procedure, and that's got to be in the back of the book. Page 12 in your textbook is empty, which brings us to page 13, the conventions or the rules of coding. And it also brings us to a good stopping point. All right? We're going to pick up with Chapter 2 next Thursday, which is February the, 4th, 5th, something like that. But anyway, next Thursday we will do the same thing. I'm going to try to take this video and put it on the website or in some way get it to you so that if you need to go back and look at it, you can. Anybody got any questions about anything we did tonight? Okay.
No.
All right.
A lot easier.
Yes, it is.